Yes, indeed, folks. You're tuning in to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. Now, so we're going to talk about hard modes and achievements in Old War. But first, there's something I want to play for you. Now, I created this. This is a old Nubcake News back from May 2007, so it's almost 2 years old now. But what I want you to do, I'm assuming most of you have probably forgotten this anyway, so I'm okay to play it. This is very relevant to this current topic, so I'm going to play it, and then I would like you to think, just while you're listening to it, have a think about how much of this actually turned out to be true. So I'm going to play this for you now, and then we'll come back and discuss the topic at hand, which is hard modes and achievements in Old War. Nubcake News! Stop that. Welcome to this week's edition of Nubcake News. Coming up later in the program, Blizzard announces it will solve faction imbalance by converting everyone's characters into dwarf females. It is reported that Terpster cried tears of joy at this announcement. But first, controversy has erupted over the recent death of Lady Varsh by raiding guild and part-time marching band Method, with some players claiming, that was a bit mean, what did she ever do to you? We were able to recover black box footage of her final moments, which we will now play for you. We must warn you that this footage is graphic and may frighten younger children and sissies. Sko, it's too dangerous to go alone. Here, take this. A vial of highly corrosive and hilarious acid. What am I supposed to do with this? Throw it at the bitch. Okay, here goes. Ah, my eyes. This ball bat's doing nothing. WTF, Vash is a dude? Dude, this is wild. What the hell did you think she was? However, not all is kittens and roses and vials of hilarious acid here in World of Raidcraft, and some have called into question the legitimacy of Nihilum's World First. In an effort to resolve the situation, guild leaders from some of the top raiding guilds in Azeroth have called a conference in which they have decided to sit down and set down firm and solid rules as to what is a World First and what is not. Order, I call to order this meeting. Guildmaster Kungan, would you please open these proceedings with your statement? Kungan smash all others are weaklings. Very poignant, thank you. Now, I must bring to attention the fact that the peasants are revolting. Yes, I know, they're disgusting. Look at them in their greens. Greens was so last expansion. No, I mean they're up in arms over world firsts. They seem to be confused as to what is a world first and what isn't. Well, that's understandable. These days it's not as simple as just killing a boss anymore. There are various other factors to consider. Indeed. So, we must, for their benefit, since their opinion is the definitive reason as to why we raid in the first place, we must set down firm and solid rules for world first kills. Sko of Method, if you please. Thank you. Yes, if we believe that a world first kill must involve killing the boss first in the world before everyone else. Yes, that sounds sensible. What do you think, Gerald D. Fanboy? Don't be ridiculous. In this modern world of Warcraft, it is not enough to simply kill a boss anymore. It must be done with panache, with style. Okay. What do you mean by that? Trick points. Trick points? Yes, we must learn lessons from previous raiding games such as SSX Snowboarding and Project Gotham 2. I see. So, what do you have in mind? Legitimate world first may now only be done upside down. Upside down? What, you mean the entire raid? Of course! That'll separate the real raiders from the fakers. Well, that makes some sort of sense, I suppose. What do you think of all this, Kungan? Kungan has been tanking upside down since Rage Firechasm. Kungan tanks all. Feed the Kungan. The Kungan hungers. No, Kungan, please! Kungan, will you please stop devouring the guests?
Kungan, sorry.
Yes, quite. Anyway, so, the boss must be killed while the raid is upside down. Everyone in favour? Yes, good. Let us continue. Mr. Fanboy, if you please. We know that the current raid limit for major boss encounters is 25 players. I propose that a true world first kill must only consist of 7.5 raiders, and at least 3 of these must be hunters. Whoa, hang on there. Since when did raiding guilds use hunters for anything? They must level new alts if they want a true world first kill. I'm sorry, did you say 7.5 raiders? Yes, I did. But how can you have half a raider? Kungan, if you please. my legs! Oh God, the agony! See? Half a raider. Yes. Someone get some heavy rune cloth on him before he makes a mess of the carpet. But all of this is only enough for half a world first. Wouldn't half a world first be a world 0.5? Surely that would actually come before a world first. Does this mean that all previous world firsts never actually happened? Exactly. But let's not talk about that now. It has come to my attention that some of the lesser guilds have been using consumables to get ahead. A true raider must not do this. A true raider must in fact debuff himself. But how can we do this? Simple. Every attempt must be made with res sickness. Only then, after these criteria are fulfilled, may a world first be achieved. Yeah, that sounds pretty reasonable. Gungan, what do you make of all this? Gungan, is that a paladin you're wielding? Gungan heard about pally tanking. Gungan thought he'd try it. Gungan tanks all. Gungan, I don't think that's what they meant by pally tanking. My God! Stop hitting me! Good God, why? Puny mortal, you are not hardcore enough. Live inside your character. Live! And so the conclusion, not a single world first has ever actually happened, which means, guys, everything's up for grabs. So go get raiding. Van Cleef awaits. This has been Nopecake News. Good night.
Yes, indeed. That was an old Nopecake News from May 2007. Now, I wasn't simply playing it to fill in time. What I'd like to highlight is, how damn prophetic was that? That was supposed to be a comedy segment, not what actually happened. Seriously, Blizz. They listened to that, thought that's what the community actually wants, and then brought in achievements and hard modes. Oh, God. Oh, Lord. Please, somebody do not show them the episode where I said the New Alliance race will be motorbikes. Oh, damn, too late. Why? Anyway, I have recovered from that. It highlights the ridiculous nature that you've got to think of just how silly hard modes and achievements actually are when you look at them. Really. And you think now that, like, yeah, these are kind of cool. But then if you look at it from that perspective, it's like, what is this? Why would you do this? Achievements, let's go for the ones with knacks to start with. The ones with knacks are a great example, because some of those are absolutely pointless. A prime example would be Loatheb. Loatheb, the Spore one. I can't remember what the name of the Spore one is. But it's like, kill Loatheb without blowing up any of the spores. Now, from a gameplay perspective, there is absolutely no reason to do that. Like, not a single reason. There is no good reason at all. It doesn't really make the encounter more challenging, because Loatheb is piss easy to begin with. But what it does do is make the fight twice as long and infinitely more boring. And let's face it, let's have a look at it from an RP perspective. Never really done this before, but yes, an RP perspective, whatever that means. RP. Ra-per. Or however you wish to pronounce it. Now, from a Ra-per perspective, if you're fighting this boss, and a load of evil, like, 20-foot-high spores were coming at you, trying to kill you, the last thing you would do is leave them alive, especially when you discover that, ooh, look, the spore disc gives you superpowers, which is quite similar to what happened when Kiki-Jiki picked up a saucepan that had been lying outside for 6 months and attempted to clean it at our old place. Bad idea. Kiki-Jiki was since imbued with the ability to fly and have a terminal form of cancer. Oh well, inhaling spores probably not the best of ideas. He can still fly, so, I think it balances out. Now, there is no reason at all for that. Your character wouldn't do that. In any way, any respect. I mean, some of them, okay, I can get, like, kill patch rate in 2 minutes. That makes sense. Like, kill... or is it 3 minutes? 3 minutes. We kill them in 2, because we're awesome. Whatever. I can also get the, don't get zapped by Thaddeus achievement. But some of them are like, kill all 4 horsemen simultaneously. Why? What possible reason could I have to want to do that? It's like playing chess, so it's like take away your good pieces. Like a possible handicap. Like, yes, I will beat you at Marvel vs. Capcom 2 with one hand tied behind my back. That's not a gameplay feature. Not even in the slightest. It's a handicap. Games that have that kind of thing in, they generally have handicaps so that you can balance yourself out against other people. I cannot imagine why you would do that. It's alright. From an RP perspective, there's no reason. Any other perspective? Any other possible reason? Well, there's the idea of achievements. Well, what have you achieved other than wasting your time? Lord knows. Seriously. But all of these arbitrary requirements are, of course, going to continue. The system's in there. It's here to stay. We're just going to accept that. Now, we've seen a number of placeholder achievements, some of which are rather interesting. There's one like called Crazy Cat Lady in Old War, which is defeat the boss while doing something cool. That's the entire... That is it in a nutshell right there. That's a little bit of self-derogatory humour from Blizzard, intentional or otherwise. Defeat the boss while doing something cool. Or more accurately, defeat the boss while doing something incredibly stupid and impractical. Defeat the boss while hopping on one leg. Defeat the boss with 7.5 raiders. Defeat the boss with 3 hunters in your raid and 7.5 raiders. Defeat the boss with 3 hunters in your raid, 7.5 raiders, standing upside down. Defeat the boss with 3 hunters, standing upside down, 7.5 raiders, and debuff from rest sickness. Where does it end? It's silly. Why would you jump through those kind of hoops? I don't get it. Now, the funny thing about hard modes is that hard modes are pretty much achievements. They're the same thing. You've got a requirement that you have to fulfill that involves killing the boss in a more difficult way than usual, and usually in a completely impractical way. Like the first hard mode, is going to be that big crawly thing whose name escapes me. The first robot boss or whatever. First boss of the instance with the tanks and stuff you can use. Now, the hard mode is to kill it without killing any of the defense towers. Who in their right mind would do that? Seriously, if you were going from an RP perspective, there's no way that a group of seasoned adventurers would say, oh look, there are defense towers raining fiery death upon us. Shall we leave them alive, or shall we not? Tough choice there. Oh, we get extra loot by that. Why? There's no good reason for that. I can understand for, like, Sartharian, for instance. Like, Sartharian... No, actually, no, that's a lie. I can't understand it from that either. From an RP perspective, the hard mode on Sartharian also makes no sense. Yes, I would understand that if you ignored all the drakes and went for the drakes would come and help. That's fine. But extra loot? No! You've killed the drakes anyway. Surely if the drakes are the ones that have the loot, and the drakes are the ones that cause the loot, then the loot would be on the drake's corpse. But it's not. The only time this has ever made sense is back in AQ40. Vemkree and Youch, the bug trio. You want to know how they made sense? Yeah? Just FYI, for those who don't know, the order in which you killed the bug trio gave you different loot, yeah? And some of it was better, and there were 3 different ways of doing it, and some were harder than others. Like, the easiest way, as I recall, I can't remember, whatever. Leaving Lord Kree till last was the most difficult, and he dropped some pretty cool loot. They had shared loot as well, but they had some unique items. Now, here's the way they did it. Whenever you kill one of the bugs, the other 2 bugs went and ate him. They ate his corpse. There was nothing left. So his loot was actually eaten. That was the way they did it. Now, it would be nice to see that actually morphed into the current hard modes in Old War. Indeed, the current hard modes that we currently have right now. But there isn't really a difference in terms of design philosophy and the way that things operate between hard modes and achievements. They're basically the same thing. Like, hard mode on Patchwork would be kill the boss in 3 minutes. That's the hard mode. Hard mode on Thaddeus, don't cross the streams, effectively. Hard mode on 4 Horsemen, kill all 4 Horsemen simultaneously. Hard mode on Kel'Thuzad, kill 18 Abominations before that, which makes the first phase a little bit hectic and less dull. Hard mode on Sapphiron, don't wear frost resistance gear. That's not really hard, but whatever. You see my point, though? It's the same thing. You compare that to the hard modes we get in Old War, it's like, kill this without killing this. it just makes the fight harder. The difference being, one of them gives you extra loot, the other one doesn't. And yet, they most likely both give you achievements. One is an achievement with loot, one is an achievement without loot. Which I do find rather bizarre. Now, I suppose it kind of makes sense from the Sarth 3 Drake's perspective, because Sarth 3 Drake's doesn't actually drop any extra loot aside from a mount than Sarth 2 Drake's does. And yet the achievement gives you a title, so I can understand getting an achievement for that. But then again, that's really the uber hard mode. That's the thing about Sarth 3 Drake's that is interesting to me, because it's not a binary hard mode. There's actually 4 different ways of doing that fight, each of which affects the loot in some way, and each of which has its own achievement. Now, I don't know whether or not the hard modes in Ulduar are going to end up being binary, or they're going to have all of these multiple ways. Like, what happens if I only kill 2 of those defense towers? What about 3? What about 1? Is that going to make a difference, or is it kind of binary? I either leave them all up or not at all. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Now, while that's all well and good, it has to come to the idea of, well, why exactly are hard modes there in the first place? Because we never really had them before. They've cropped up from time to time for various different reasons, some of which intentional, some of them not. You know, Hakar, of course, being one unintentional, or is it? Yes, it would be an unintentional hard mode, whereby there's no real point in doing it in hard mode, it just makes it harder. Whereas Vemkri and Niaj, of course, was different. So, does it add anything to the raid instance? What it concerns me more than anything is the fact that if you're going to add hard modes, then the chances are you're going to tune the rest of the instance an awful lot lower. Which isn't in itself a bad thing. It just bothers me, I suppose, that you have to do the same fight multiple times in different ways. However, the argument could also be made that this is what you were doing anyway. Yeah? Raiding guilds cleared content pretty fast when it was introduced in the other expansions as well. And they had to basically keep farming. Now, I suppose you could then argue that hard mode gives the opportunity to vary your week-to-week runs a little bit. You could either just go for an entirely hard mode run, or maybe say, well, this week we're going to try this hard mode. Blah, 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 etc., etc. I think it gives it a bit of extra longevity. Not much, but extra. Now, whether or not that longevity is going to match up to the amount of, say, development time it's going to take to bring in the next piece of raid content, well, that's questionable. Now, there is another factor that we should look at, and this has been indicated. If you look at MMO Champion, and indeed I believe this was also a blue post as well, there is mention of unique achievements related to hard modes and unique Realm First achievements related to hard modes. Now, that is very interesting, because that indicates to me that World Firsts, and indeed Realm Firsts, are now just not going to count unless you do it in the hardest way imaginable. I don't know what I think about that, to be quite honest. But it does bring us back, of course, to what you just heard with the Nubcake news. What's a real world first anymore? Is it going to change? It'll be interesting to see. Now, whether or not that actually matters, I don't know. I think the raiding metagame and the actual element of competition there, I think the element of competition is going to change, but I certainly think there'll be an awful lot more animosity between raiding guilds who say, oh, well, I did this, well, I did this. It harkens back to when Insidia first cleared everything, but Method, I believe, killed Sarth 3 Drakes before Insidia did. Now, this may be wrong, so please feel free to correct me, but as I recall back on the Insidia show, which was episode 4 of Pug, they mentioned with some derogatory tone the fact that, oh, Method has killed Sartharian with X number of Drakes, and that this doesn't really matter because we killed Sartharian world first. Well, judging by the level of the content, indeed the challenge of Sartharian 3 Drakes being vastly, I mean, we're not just talking about 3 times harder than Sartharian, we're talking like 10, 20 times harder, and on 10 man even more so than Sartharian, who, let's face it, on his own is an incredibly simple fight. Yes, that actually was an achievement, and yes, that really was a world first, but was the Sartharian kill really a world first? Technically, yes, but did it mean anything? That's what really matters. Just calling it a world first is really just there for the sake of an arbitrary badge, just like an achievement. But whether or not you actually did something challenging that took an awful lot of effort and you were in genuine competition with other guilds to do. Now that, I think, matters a bit more. It's a brave new world we're setting foot in, that's for sure. I have come around to the idea that, yes, hard modes are a good idea. I don't really subscribe to the idea that they're cheap content, because, to be honest, it very much depends on how fast they bring in a new raid instance after Ulduar. If it takes them like 6+ months to introduce new raid content, then I would say that yes, this was an artificial way to attempt to extend the longevity of an instance which should have been defeated and kind of died long ago. But you got to look at the speed of introduction of other content in WoW and compare that to what's happening right now. Bringing out Ulduar about 4 to 5 months after the release of the expansion is reasonable. What isn't reasonable is the fact that while TBC did this as well, TBC also provided 2 full-sized raid instances more than you actually get with this expansion. So, Blizzard, in my opinion, are kind of playing catch-up. If they wait the length of, say, Black Temple to Sunwell to release a new set of content, I think we might be in trouble. And I also don't believe that having 10 and 25-man versions equates to having 2 different instances. It doesn't. And I don't think that excuses it. So, while you might have had TBC say, oh, right, what did we get in TBC? Well, we got Black Temple and Mount Hyjal. Mount Hyjal, bear in mind, was like half finished before they even released the Burning Crusade. We got those 2 big instances there. And then we got Zulaman a bit later. And then, of course, we got Sunwell plus a 5-man, and that was the raid content that was introduced there. Are we going to get Ulduar, and then are we just not going to get our Zulaman because we have 10 and 25-man versions? Are they going to say, oh, well, Ulduar 10-man counts as the Zulaman, when it's really, it's just a slimmed-down version of existing instance, which is really not extra content. It's just different ways and different paths to access the same stuff. Certainly interesting to see, and I do hope that Blizzard does take that in mind and thinks, well, actually, yeah, just because we've made content more accessible does not give us an excuse to make less of it. Oh no. My name is Tall Biscuit, and you're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. Wow, my throat is so dry. I'm going to go get a drink, and right back after this break, we'll be talking about dead content. 95% of the world is dead. Should anything really be done about it, or should it simply be left to fester in the ground? I'll be right back after this. Enjoy.